Hey, great morning, TikTok. This is Dr. Cunningham. I decided to pop up on TikTok because I was actually making breakfast this morning and thinking a lot about um, leadership in general, positions where I've been led, as well as when I've been a leader. And I find that there are a lot more people who are actually managers than they are CEOs. And that's not a dig, it's just the reality of one major factor: responsibility. Who's willing to accept responsibility overall for what has occurred? And so, what I'd like to do today is just to share a delineation between a manager and a CEO. So, when you look at a manager, there are particular roles and responsibilities. Manager typically oversees specific departments or a team within an organization and generally is responsible for like daily operations, team leadership, supervising employees, assigning tasks, and providing guidance and support to team members, and also monitoring their performance. Okay, making sure that all the tasks or activities are completed efficiently and proficiently, and that the particular department meets particular goals. Okay, so that's a manager. But a CEO, a chief executive officer, it's not just a matter of ranking, but it's that the company, they see the broader scope of responsibilities. So, strategic direction, setting the overall vision and strategy for the organization, making decisions that affect the entire company. Public representation, acting as the public face of the company, representing it in various forms and stakeholders, and financial oversight, ensuring the company meets its financial goals and objectives, often reporting directly to a board of directors. So there's still a board of directors in order to account for accountability, but at the same time, the CEO really has the vision and the strategy for the organization. So everyone has different checkpoints of accountability. But at the end of the day, who's responsible for signing the paychecks, and also who's responsible for having to take the wins as well as the losses? A lot of times people want to show up as the face, but what they don't realize is that if you are the face, if you are really the visionary and the strategist for the organization, that means you have to accept the wins and the losses. People don't like accepting the losses. And as soon as they're faced with the situation where they have to face the responsibility of their own actions or decisions, then they want to cower or blame everybody else. So if you're the type of person who just wants to blame everyone else or lie about the situation or try to skirt around the truth, you might be a leader, but you're a manager. You just be responsible for the team, make sure everybody's happy, make sure they meet their goals, delegate tasks, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you are a visionary or strategist regarding the organization. And you're definitely not signing off on the paychecks, because if you're going to lie about taking responsibility for the truth or the objectivity of a situation, then you probably would lie about the numbers. And that's the reason why, like, I want to make sure I delineate, because there's a lot of people that I've met that are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna show, oh yeah, and I get to look good and show my face. But you're not the CEO. At the end of the day, if push come to shove and hits the fan, you running like a little so-and-so. Huh? Can somebody say the truth? Now, what I know about me is that regardless of what's happening, is that I'm gonna show up. Whether it's for a win or a loss, whether the egg or the rotten tomato is in my face or not. Why? Because that's what a CEO does. A CEO shows up for the losses. A CEO shows up for the wins. A CEO always has an answer. You know, hey, it just didn't work this time. It was a lesson learned. But not everyone can handle that. It's not just a matter of showing up like, yeah, ooh, we're winning. Ooh, isn't that great? Yeah, but what happens when stuff doesn't go as you planned? Are you running away like a little baby? Or are you facing the situation? And see, this is the difference between the CEO and the manager. So once again, I've met a lot of managers. And you know what I'm also going to say is I don't like when managers take their time to actually deal with situations. Why are you taking weeks? Somebody sent you a message, and usually professionally within 48 hours if we respond, marvelous. Now sometimes emergencies happen and you're able to explain it, so forth and so on. But it's a week, 2 weeks later, or even a month or something later, and you're just like, no, I'm just going to let it ride. No, you're trying to accept a paycheck and do the minimum. So are you a worthwhile manager if you can't handle the responsibility of the task of managing the people? See, and I recognize this because I've been in positions where I've been under leadership, and then I've also been in a position of leading. I have my own business. I've also had to manage other people. I've also been managed and mismanaged by other people. And I've also been in positions where I've learned lessons while I manage people well, and then when I made faux pas as far as manager. But we live and we learn. And I've learned from those experiences. And my hope is that people know the difference. Now, I'm saying this also because there can sometimes be a rift when you are in a position of being managed, but you really are a visionary and a strategist. I believe Dr. Cindy Trim calls it, the architect. If y'all saw how many literal pieces of paper or just documents I have about visions about all aspects of my life, like I can see literally 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, almost 100 years from now. I can see how what I do now can have an effect on the next 3 generations. Like, I have the mind of a CEO. And when I make moves, which is the reason why sometimes I take time away from social media, because people are focused on just entertaining the people for now, performing for now. That's like a managerial position, day-to-day tasks, operations. But like, are you aware of what you're doing now and its ripple effect for generations that have yet to be born, literally? And so sometimes it can be frustrating when, on a certain level, recognizing what could be done differently and not given the opportunity because it's just not the place or the space nor my role or responsibility at the time. But I really am truly a CEO, which is the reason why I respect people when they're in their positions of CEO or visionary and they are willing to own their stuff. I get leery about people when they will not apologize, or when in a conversation, ownership of actions are only one-sided. And I say that from a perspective of, even if we're looking at it within the context of a family, if 2 parents are working together, whether they're married as a couple of spouses or they're just co-parenting in 2 different households, if only one person is taking responsibility for what's going on, then that means one is a visionary or a CEO, the other one's a manager. But at least we're aware of the role of the position or the responsibility that a person is willing to accept. And then you're actually able to move accordingly with consideration of how you would define how they're going to decide to show up, whether it's in their personal life or even in their professional life. So I trust you all have a great day. And again, remember, there's a difference between a manager and a CEO. Have a great day.